already know that the nervous system is essentially a massive complex body-wide communication system. Messages are relayed to the central nervous system through sensory neurons. So stimulus is detected by a receptor which sends the electrical impulse message along a sensory neuron to the central nervous system. The central nervous system then relays the message by a motor neuron to effectors which provide a response, such as telling your legs to run. In this video, we are going to look at the nervous system in more detail, including the different nerve cells and the structure. To clarify, nerve cells are known as neurons. There are three different types: sensory, intermediate or relay, and motor neurons. These specialized cells carry information as tiny electrical impulse and make up the nervous system. Sensory neurons carry signal from receptor to the spinal cord and brain. Intermediate and relay neurons carry message from one part of the central nervous system to another. Motor neurons carry signal from the central nervous system to effectors. They will have three main components: a cell body with a nucleus, dendron and dendrite, which are the input of the neurons, receive information from other neurons or the external environment and transfer this information to the cell body, and axons, which carry the signal away from the cell body. Axons are surrounded by an insulating shields, which speeds up the rate of conduction. It makes the nerve impulse travel faster. Because the sensory neurons are the ones that detect the stimulus, they have receptors at the end of their fibers. Whereas because motor neurons trigger direction, they have motor in place, which cause the muscle fiber to contract or glands to secrete hormones. The relay neurons make connection with other neurons across gaps that are called synapses. So let's have a look at how synapses work. Synapses are a junction between two adjacent neurons, and the electrical impulse has to cross the junction to carry on its journey. The electrical impulse arrives along an axon. This triggers the release of a chemical neurotransmitter which diffuses across the synapse and binds with the receptor of the membrane of the next neuron. This stimulates the second neuron to generate a new electrical signal. Synapses not only connect two or more neurons together, but also allow the nerve signal to travel in one direction only, and they also control the speed of the signal.
Ouch! See how quickly I moved my hand from the hot stove?
Our bodies have a system in place which enables us to react really quickly, called reflex reaction. Reflex reaction are immediate unconscious responses to a stimulus that provide us with protection and facilitate our survival. From our explanation on the nervous system and nerve cells, you should already know about the stimulus, receptor, sensory neuron, central nervous system, motor neuron, effector pathway, and how sensory neurons, motor neurons, and relay neurons differ from one another. In this video, we are going to look at what happens in reflex reaction. Touch a boiling plate, face to face with a lion, eye reacting to bright light, you want a fast reaction. When your safety demands quick response, the signal may bypass the brain and be acted upon as soon as they reach the spinal cord. These shorter pathways are called reflex arcs. Reflex arcs are built-in or innate behavior, and we all behave in the same way. Even though the brain is bypassed for the immediate response, the nerve message is still passed on to the brain so that you can think about whether any further action is needed. The pathway has been cut down by speeding up the central nervous system aspect. The message reaches the spinal cord and heads straight back up down to the motor neuron to produce a response. See what happens when you touch a hot object. There are two types of reflex. Like we have seen already, the brain are not aware of the initial response in this stage of survival. You can also have two neuron reflexes. This involves only two neurons, that is, the sensory and the motor.
Differences between voluntary and involuntary action. Voluntary action is actions that we are conscious of and done on our will. For example, eating. Next, involuntary action is action that occurs automatically. For example, sneezing. Voluntary action involves the somatic nervous system, while involuntary action involves the autonomous nervous system. The somatic nervous system has sensory and motor pathway, whereas the autonomic nervous system only has motor pathways. The autonomic nervous system controls internal organs and glands, while the somatic nervous system controls the muscle and movement. So, this is the difference between the somatic nervous system and autonomous nervous system. Next, voluntary action is controlled by the cerebral cortex, while involuntary action is controlled by the medulla oblongata and hypothalamus. Lastly, voluntary action involves the reaction of skeletal muscle, while involuntary action involves the reaction of smooth muscle and glands. The importance of reflex actions. Reflex action produce spontaneous responses without waiting for instructions from the brain. For example, moving your hands away when touching a hard object. The additional time that is needed by the brain to analyze information before triggering a response can lead to serious injury. Since reflex action involves the spinal cord, the brain can focus on higher level thinking.